What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show. Me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com, and we are back with another betting show, but this time it's a little bit different. We have reached basically the midpoint of the year. There isn't really a whole lot of massive MMA this weekend. There's no PFL, there's no UFC, there's no Cage Warriors. There's no GFL. There was supposed to be, but there's none of that. I know there are road to the UFC and stuff like that, but I think this is a good time to step back, have a little bit of a look at our bets for the year. Although I don't really want to have a look at where we are with the champions predictions for next year and the bets on them, and then a look ahead to some of the biggest fights coming up and some of the bets for those as well. So I have actually 8 bets. Now, what I will say before I even get into those 8 bets, and we'll look back first and then we look forward as we always do. Those are bets right now at the prices they have right now. If they change, let's say I'm picking, let's pick a random, let's say Jose Aldo is fighting Dominic Cruz right next, and it's announced, and today Jose Aldo is minus 200, and I pick him, and then it goes out to minus 450. I can change my pick, right? For these ones, for the year-long ones, no, but for these ones right now, I need a little bit more. I need the prices to fluctuate, to go up. We all know the week before is the place to do it. 3 or 4 days before is the place to do it. So just give myself a little rod from the back. I'll tell you why, right? Because some of these I've gone for the better prices. And maybe those prices might not necessarily be there in 6 weeks' time, in 8 weeks' time, whenever the fights are on. So, with that addendum, let's look back before we look forward. So, let's look back at the 5 bets for the year. And I'll be honest, the 5 bets for the year were a bit odd, considering a couple of things. Last year's bets, I think there was a lot of fights at the start of 2024. There was a lot of fights kind of lined up. So there would have been, maybe 3 or 4 pay-per-views in a row. We had some big fights that we kind of knew were going to happen. Obviously, we thought McGregor-Chandler would be on. That didn't end up happening. But you get what I mean. There was a lot of them. This time, there wasn't that much, so I kind of went looking a little bit. But some of them haven't happened. Some of them have happened. Some of them will probably never happen of these 5. So let's get into them. Israel Adesanya versus Imavov. Obviously, Adesanya was my pick at minus 185. A terrible pick. A minus 185, so it's not the best price. And Adesanya lost that fight. And you know what? I think this is a good exercise as well. And not even a betting exercise, but an MMA exercise to kind of look back and think, Israel Adesanya lost to Imavov. Like, if someone had told you that when I gave out that bet, I'm sure there's some people picked him maybe at the price or whatever. But God almighty, it's kind of shocking where Adesanya has gone. Like, Adesanya's not that old and hasn't been through that many wars. 1 or 2, obviously, like everyone. But I never thought it would turn so quickly for Adesanya. I'll give credit to Imavov as well, a very, very good fighter. But yeah, it's kind of surprising to look back on that one and see it like that. The second bet was Jamahal at plus 170 to beat Alberg. Obviously, that was a bit of an underdog pick and didn't happen. It's funny as well because there is talks this week of maybe, and we'll talk about the other guy in these talks as well, but Alberg getting a title shot. And you'd wonder if, some people can get the title shot way too early, and others it might seem like it's too early, but they're actually fine. With Alberg, you think that, and this fight, I was just looking up there, it happened in March, so it's 3 months out now since that fight where he beat Jan Blachowicz. I think it was one of those fights. It was a relatively forgettable fight. Like, I had to look it up there. He won the unanimous decision. The point is, that fight would usually be a good indication of like, he beat Jan Blachowicz, he should be fighting for the title next. But it feels like that hype is dimmed a touch after that. Also, with the kind of talk that Poirier would get the immediate rematch, maybe that hindered it as well. But now we look at it and he's maybe back into that position. So Will it happen? Won't it happen? I suppose, who knows? The one bet I did hit this year, so those two I missed. One I hit and the other two haven't happened. Dricus du Plessis to beat Sean Strickland at -162. Now, looking back at that, that's a pretty good price. I think the way that fight went, where, you know, Dricus was really, really dominant, I suppose, and is turning into one of these guys where we probably, you know, and you could see some other guys, maybe Jack Della Maddalena could do this, and other people as well, like turning into the fighter we didn't expect, you know, being a dominant champion. And he's, you know, he won the championship and has defended it twice now against Strickland and Adesanya. It's pretty good. So I think that price of -162, when I looked at it at the time, I thought it was good, and it definitely was, looking back again. So we're good. We have hit one bet anyway. We missed two. So the other two I gave, and the next bet I gave Adesanya to defeat Pereira at -125. Now, I kind of gave that thinking that Adesanya might be Imavov. There might be a bit of a wait with Chimaev and maybe a couple more for the title picture. And I thought, you know, obviously I thought du Plessis would win it and not Strickland, considering the fact that obviously it was only August of last year where du Plessis beat Adesanya. I thought maybe if the Pereira fight was open, if Pereira was still, say, the champion up there, it would have been perfect timing. Now, maybe it's perfect time as well, both of them coming off a loss, but who knows on that one. But yeah, that fight, obviously, you know, it might happen. We still have 7 months to go in this year. Stranger things have happened, so we'll leave that one open. And then the other one, which we can also leave open, but I think it was more likely to happen, I think, at the start of the year, obviously, than it is now. It was Volkanovski to defeat Oliveira at +120. Now, the thinking was there, Topuria was champion, Volkanovski had lost to Topuria, maybe Volkanovski would be staying at 155, Topuria would be reigning at 145, and Volkanovski would end up fighting Oliveira. Obviously, that didn't end up happening. The opposite almost happened. Volkanovski went back down, Topuria went up, and now he's fighting Oliveira. But at the same time, if Oliveira does beat Topuria and becomes the champion, could we see a champion versus champion fight? No, probably not. But you never know. We'll keep it open. Look, until the end of the year, we can write it off. We can put it in red at the end of the year if it doesn't happen. So those are the 5 bets for the year. We hit one. We hit du Plessis at -162. 2 didn't hit, and 2 are waiting. So there you go. Right. Okay. I before I before I do the next bit, I better open up the rankings here. So I gave my predictions for who would be champions at the end of the year. Now, obviously, these are all still open, and let's remember as well, these are based on prices. So last year I did a really good job of this. I had Zhang Weili, I had Shevchenko, I had Merab, I had Topuria, I had Makhachev. And funnily enough, I actually had Makhachev to go up and win, which he's obviously doing now, which was interesting. I had Ankalaev, and he's now the champion. He wasn't at the... And I had Jon Jones. I almost had... Like, we could actually see a world where I had nearly every champion by the time this next couple of months comes around. But this was the end of last year. But what I have now... Okay, let's go through them. Let's start off with the 3 women's divisions. First, we'll start with the one that might still happen. Amanda Nunes, +500. Now, this is to be the champion at the end of this year, okay? At the end of this year. Amanda Nunes, +500. That fight is not too far away, if I'm not wrong. I'm actually opening that up on our Sherdog.com website. The Pena Harrison fight, not too far away, as we all know. No matter who wins that, I think... Amanda Nunes, I was talking to Darren Bronstetter last night, and it'll be out hopefully by the time this comes out. And he was kind of saying he was at the event where Amanda Nunes was put into the Hall of Fame, and she was adamant about coming back about 20 minutes after we put it into the Hall of Fame. As I said, that fight's coming up. That's a 3-1-6, isn't it? It is a 3-1-6. That card is on the 7th of June, so that's only a week and a half away. It could very well happen that Amanda Nunes fights the winner of that fight before the end of the year, +500 to be champion. I'll stand by that bet. I think that's a pretty good bet. So we'll go with that one. Brilliant. The other two, I had Suarez at plus 140. I had Furo at plus 200. Obviously, both of them lost. Not great. Furo very well could have won that fight. Suarez very much not. But yeah, they're not going to happen. But you never know. You never know what happened for now at the end of the year. And Asu Amabayev again. You never know. Topuria or Pantoja is fighting. Not too far distant future. There'll have to be someone else. Wait, let me just have a look at the rankings I open up there. So, Amabayev is ranked 8 at the moment. He's fighting. Oh no, he lost. He lost to Manel. Oh yeah, that was the issue with that one. Yeah, that's probably not happening. Okay. All right, we'll move on. I then had Merab a plus 200. Merab is still the champion. Obviously, he's fighting O'Malley coming up. If he wins that fight, I think that's a pretty good bet. I don't believe. Let me just pull this up here. I don't believe he's plus 200 to beat O'Malley. So that bet is. I will get to that, but that bet is looking very, very good. So we'll take that one. I had Topuria at minus 175, at 145. That's looking bad. I had Makhachev at minus 175, 155. That's looking very, very bad. So yeah, there we go. Those are unfortunate, really, aren't they? You know, I had him the opposite way around last year nearly. But no, at welterweight, I have Ian Gary at plus 400. Now, plus 400 is an interesting one because, like, I saw an article. I actually never clicked into it, so maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but Ian Gary, there was something about him maybe being the backup fighter again. I could see that happening. Obviously, when is the Makhachev JDM fight going to happen? JDM just fought, so it'll probably be 3 or 4 months. There's hardly going to be time for another fight before the end of the year, especially if Makhachev wins. You know, he only fights every 8 months. Don't give out to me now. I said a year on Twitter and people give out. So it would have to take Ian Gary being the backup fighter, getting in and winning the title at plus 400. So tough one there. Adesanya plus 1800. That's not happening. Ankalaev plus 195. Looking good. Obviously, he's the champion at the moment, so we'll see on that. And then Jon Jones at plus 110. Still the champion. Will he have fought Aspinall between now and then? Maybe. Hopefully. But yeah, so that's how it's looking at the moment. I would say worse than last year at the moment, but a lot can change in the space of 6 months. So we'll wait and see on that. Right. So the overall where we are, I'm actually not counting last week because we'll talk about that next week. The overall betting at the halfway point is from 76 bets. We have 37 hit. Just under 50%, so hopefully by the end of the year that'll be back over the 50%. That would be good to do that. And we've only 6 months, one flyer. Sean O'Bannon at plus, what was it, 1400, 1200, 1400, whatever it was. That's the only flyer we've hit this year, so not amazing at all. Right, the mid-year picks. And I already looked at my first pick here and I'm like, why did I give this? Because I'm going against one of the other picks I just gave. But so Sean O'Malley is the first pick. And you're probably saying, and also I'm skipping Darren Blanchfield Barber fight because we'll be talking about that next week, that fight night. So I'm skipping that just so everyone knows that. The reason I'm giving you Sean O'Malley here at plus 185 is because he's plus 185. The price on his opponent, Merab Dvalishvili, is best price minus 275, but in places he's closer to minus 350. That's the genuine price. And then the O'Malley price is probably closer to plus 255, 260-ish. The best price you can get him is plus 285. And at that price, I think you have to pick O'Malley at this stage. Now, again, the closer the fight gets, this is not my official pick, but if you're betting the futures, and we're not too far away from, okay, this is a bad example because we're not too far away from this, but I went back and I watched that fight not too long ago, and I'll watch it again in the next week or so before the fight. But and even if you look at the judging, let me see if I can pull up the MMA decisions here real quick. O'Malley had some real success in that fight. O'Malley had a real good, judges So here's what the judges scored, right? So one judge scored, the first judge scored round 5 for O'Malley. The second judge scored round 5 for O'Malley and round 3 for O'Malley. And the third judge scored round 3 for O'Malley and round 5 for O'Malley. So this is a fight where Merab came on late. Everyone thought that. Merab didn't start amazingly. You know, probably the other part of it was O'Malley didn't fight amazingly, but lost it late. But on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, O'Malley actually won 2 of the last 3 rounds. So if this was a 3-round fight, you take out the first 2 rounds, O'Malley would have won. Right? Which is one of those things that it's not necessarily massively reflective of the actual fight. But sometimes, like, I'm not a big stat man myself, but sometimes things like that should really click with you, and should, you know, maybe take away a held belief that maybe you think like, okay, maybe there is something to this. I think that's one of those things. There's something to it. O'Malley did better in that fight late than people give him credit for. I think O'Malley started badly. I think Merab started badly. This was also, let's not forget, the UFC Nacho, wasn't it? The one in that sphere. And I don't think anyone fought their fight that night. I really, really, really don't. I think that was an almost, not a throwaway night, but it was such an amazing night. But the fights just didn't deliver properly to me. I know people might disagree. So I think O'Malley has a chance here. He will have been doing nothing but thinking of Merab since. Obviously, Merab had Umar as well, and the other names in his minds. So there you go. That's pick number 1. Pick number 1, Sean O'Malley. Okay, pick number 2. Again, this is. Do you know what? I don't know. Should I? I don't know about this one. Right. Okay. Before I get to that pick. We have Pinion Harrison. The pick for that is obviously Harrison, but she's minus 549 best price. So, you know, I could throw that out there. Do you really want that? I'm not throwing it out there. I think Harrison will win. That's that. Right. Kamaru Usman is the next one. Fighting Joaquin Buckley. Best price 205 Usman. Minus 225 for Buckley. But yeah, around that. Minus 250 some places. I don't know about you, but are we ready to give up on Usman? Are we ready? Are we fully ready to give up on him? Because I think it's one of those ones, and just looking at Usman's record here, right? He lost to Chimaev in a fight you'd nearly forget. In October 23. He lost to Leon before that. It was a majority decision, and obviously the head kick in the fight he was winning before that. Middleweight last time, back down to welterweight. I'm very interested to see how he looks. Do you know the key for me as well? He just turned 38. And I wonder, that's my only reservation about this, because and people might think I will go the opposite way in this, but you give me this price and you tell me Usman is 34 after the 3 losses, I'm picking Usman all day. Like, I like Buckley, but I'm not a massive believer in Joaquin Buckley. Like, if you look at Usman's record, right, he's been knocked out once, and he was dominant before that, but like, the Leon Edwards knockout is not a representation of what Kamaru Usman is, right? He's been in there with big hitters like Burns and Masvidal a couple of times, and Woodley back in the day, and Dos Anjos in his prime, and he never had much trouble with him. And he didn't have much trouble with Leon in that first fight either. Like, the second fight, great credit to Leon, he came with a very, very good game plan. But I think if Usman is back to somewhat, he's not going to be at his best at 38. That's the thing here. But if he is somewhere near a good version of Kamaru Usman, I very much think he can beat Joaquin Buckley. Now, I'll be honest. I wanted to give you a pick for most or all of these fights, as we just mentioned. And I didn't want to skip this. But this is the type of fight, and I'll be honest, on the week of the fight, maybe, I could ignore this one. Because this is that valley of value where I believe all the value is with Usman and none of the value is with Buckley. But I'm I'm not massively in favour of Usman to win because of the age. I said 3 losses in a row wouldn't deflect me, but 3 losses in a row with the age would. But I'm giving it to you. I'm throwing it out there. We'll talk about it at the end of the year. I could look very, very foolish again, as we all know. But we're going with Usman. Right, so those are 2 underdogs. We're going to get to a few favourites next. And I'll be honest, one fight I absolutely love. It was supposed to happen a few weeks ago. It's happening now. Jamahal against Khalil Rountree Jr. And I'm going for Khalil Rountree at minus, let me just check here again, minus 125. It's funny enough, that's actually changed. I had actually written down minus 160 there. Let me just double check that for you again. Yeah, correct, minus 125. Love that price. Love that price. I've been a big believer in Jamahal for a while. I gave him as one of my predictions to be a champion before he became a champion. He's run since he became a champion. Hasn't been amazing. Obviously, Daniel Cormier took out his Achilles. We all know that and all that stuff. But that Khalil Rountree, how he's looked in the last while, his performance in the title fight, I thought was brilliant. Now, when you fight the man he fought, not going to be easy to win, but I thought he fought very, very well, bravely. And I think if he fights like that against Jamahal, considering what Jamahal has looked like over the last couple of fights, I think that's a Khalil Rountree fight all day. Like, I really think Khalil, I think he could become champion. I do. I've always liked Khalil Rountree's game. I like the way he changes things up and fixes stuff and has big overhauls and comes back and looks better. And again, he is one of these guys, he doesn't always find the right note. He doesn't always hit. And look, it's tough to do it. But when he hits good, he hits good. And he hits good, you know? And I feel like if he hits Jamahal well, it could be a tough night at the office for Jamahal. So, yeah, that's... I'm going with that one. That fight's not too far away either, is it? Let me just look at my my Sherdog page here. So that fight is on June 24th. So yeah, we've another month-ish till that. I'm massively looking forward to that one. The week after that, then June 28th is Topuria and Oliveira. Again, I'm throwing in this bet, but at minus 400. The only reason I'm throwing in this bet and I didn't with the Harrison one is I think minus 400 is actually a pretty good price, to be honest, in Topuria. That might sound a bit disrespectful to Oliveira. Actually, he's minus 345 now, so that has changed around. A lot of prices have changed here in the last 2 hours or so before I'm looking at this. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe people are betting futures this week. But yeah, minus 325 again. Look, would you want to throw into a parlay or something like that? Yes, maybe. But when I think about Topuria versus Oliveira, my very, very broad initial analysis is this: how is Topuria going to beat him? Sorry, how is Oliveira going to beat him? Like, is Oliveira going to be able to wrestle him and take him down? Possibly, right? Possibly. Is he going to be able to be reckless on the feet like he is against a lot of people and either knock him out on the feet or force him to panic enough to take him down? No. That's not happening against Topuria. He's too good on the feet. And he will get smashed up. If he does that, he will get countered and knocked out, assuredly. Is he good enough to technically strike with Topuria on the feet? No, he's not. No. Is he, and again, just maybe it's a reiteration of the first point, but is he able to NCAA him, double leg him, take him down, use his jiu-jitsu? I don't think so. Very hard for me to see Oliveira win that fight. So Topuria at minus 325 is good. The fight, the other fight in there is Pantoja against Kaikara France. Again, I kind of skipped past that one. Maybe I shouldn't have. I do think Pantoja at minus 245. Do you know what I'm going to throw it in? I'm going to throw it in. Topuria at minus 245. I actually think that's pretty good value. If you doubled up on them, let's Let's see what that double up price is. They're on the same event, aren't they? Let's see what this double up price is. That could be a pretty nice double actually on that event. So Pantoja minus 245, Topuria minus 345. The double there is minus 122. Like that double a whole lot. So yeah, I'll throw Pantoja in there as well as one of the picks. But my next pick was going to be Max Holloway, a minus 105 against Dustin Poirier. You know, I have a soft spot for Dustin Poirier. I think a lot of people do, but I don't know. I feel like Max Holloway up at 155 is a bit of a different beast. I think his speed is going to be key in that fight. Obviously, we've seen him fight a couple of times before, and the difference here between the last fight and this fight, I don't think Dustin Poirier is the same. Like, I picked Dustin Poirier going into the Santini fight, and I knew he'd win in the way he won, but I didn't think he would suffer as much as he did before that, which isn't an amazing sign, especially for fighting a guy like Holloway, who will make you suffer in a similar way, but with a way more effective set of skills than what Santini has. Maybe not as dangerous in terms of power and stuff like that, but more dangerous. Well, ask Justin Gaethje about that, I suppose, but you get what I mean. A more technical fighter. And I think Holloway is now his body shape is better for 155 than it was back then. It was short notice, interim title and all that malarkey. I think it was obviously swayed towards Poirier, and now it's swayed back towards Holloway. In my opinion, I love that minus 105 price. I really, really like that. I was expecting him. I don't know why, because this makes a whole lot of sense. They're both basically the same price. But for some reason, I was expecting Holloway to be like minus 150. Maybe that's crazy. Let me see, has the line moved here at all any bit? He actually started out at minus 130, so I'm not a million miles off. But yeah, I was expecting it to be, and this is the best price it has been at minus 105. It bounced out to minus 105 at the end of April, and it's back to minus 105 again after going to minus 110. So there isn't a ton of support for him judging by that line, but I'm supporting him, so I'll go for that. And in the last two, Reinier the Ritter at plus 146. And again, just because these prices have changed, no, it is the same. I was pretty surprised to see that, considering like last time out Whittaker against Chimaev. I'll tell you one thing with Robert Whittaker. I was surprised to see. Okay, here, let's put it this way. Sometimes you're surprised to see fighters bounce back so well after big losses, because we so rarely see it. Like I've said this before, and there's a short out there on YouTube about me talking about Jose Aldo. In my opinion, one of the best wins he ever had was against Frankie Edgar after McGregor knocked him out in 13 seconds, because he was flattened. His whole career was thrown out the window, and then he comes back and just looks the best he's ever looked. Like, we have seen that. We're like Robert Whittaker losing to Duplessis, getting knocked out in the second round in the manner he did. It felt to me at that stage like, oh, that could be the end of Robert Whittaker, because I don't think Duplessis, obviously he wasn't as highly thought of as he is now. But the fact that a few months later he comes back and he beats Paulo Costa, destroys Ali Askarov in less than 2 minutes, that was fantastic. But the way he lost to Chimaev and got his whole face cranked off him, can he do it again? That is the question. Can he do it again? I find it very, very, very amazing that people can do it once. For people to do it twice is a really, really, really special fighter. And Whittaker's a special fighter, but I don't think he's a Jose Aldo. Like, you know, RDR has momentum on his side. He has all of that. And plus 146, I'd be surprised if that price is still there by the time this fight happens. Very, very, very surprised. So there is that. And then the last bet, I gave it to you earlier on, and I'm giving it to you again. Johnny Bones Jones plus 100. The fight's going to happen. We all know it. The Aspinall fight's going to happen. Aspinall will be all rested, and you know, Jon Jones will get his. I heard something about Jon Jones. I heard Jon Jones is doing a bit of training. Yeah, but I heard that in the grapevine. I heard that now. So maybe that's what Jon Jones is doing. I'm going to start training. We'll have Tom Aspinall, you know, out, you know, eating cookies and drinking milk, and I'll be in training camp. The next thing we'll announce the fight. Oh, the fight's happening in 6 weeks, lads. you know. So maybe not. But Jon Jones plus 100 to beat Tom Aspinall is my final bet. It's I think it's a fight. Jon Jones will win. I like Aspinall an awful lot. I know I give Aspinall stick because it's a bit of a shtick that I have going, but I do like Aspinall an awful lot. I've been watching him since the Cage Warriors days and had a lot of respect for him back then. I think he was a tad rushed in the middle part of his career, but look, it's worked out for him very, very well. But I just think Jon Jones is a special fighter, and I think Aspinall's a very, very good fighter, but I don't think he's Jon Jones. So that is it. Those are the picks. So we'll read them again. I have to add in Pantoja. So we go first with Pantoja at minus 245. Then we have O'Malley at plus 285, plus 205 for Usman. Rountree at minus 125. Pantoja, I have it in there, sorry. Minus 2. Who was the other one I added in? Oh, it was Pantoja, yeah. Minus 245. Topuria minus 325. Holloway minus 105. And the Ritter at minus 146, as well as Jon Jones at plus 100. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for your watching today. If you have a bet for yourself for the end of the year, who do you think will be a champion at the end of the year? Who do you think will win their big upcoming fight? Let me know in the comment section below. Please give us a subscribe. Please like and tune in next week for even more bets. Lots of big stuff coming up. So we will have that all covered every Thursday-ish on the betting show here on Sherdog.com. I almost said Severe Mate, but I didn't. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.